and welcome to my third Crusade podcast, where today we are going to talk about how our beloved Crusader leaders got to the Holy Land in their own ways in the first place. So here's my bootleg map, which I made quite quickly. The borders aren't accurate, but what are you expecting from medieval borders? And just to clarify, Kababistan is basically all Muslim territory. I thought that is just a very cool way to call them. Remove kebab. Anyways, I digress. So, I think the first and most appropriate leader we should go with is Fredrick Barbarossa and how he got to the Holy Land. So, unlike Richard and Philip, he went through the overland route, and he starts from Regensburg in May 11th, 1189, and led his force through Hungary and then into Byzantine territory. So I'm trying to mark it kind of accurately, and this is where the Byzantines agreed to help the Crusaders with guides, market security, all that jazz. But he feared that Frederick's army might attempt to conquer Byzantine, and of course they failed the attacks on the They failed to prevent attacks on the Crusaders as they marched through Byzantium. And it's like a big tradition in crusading history, where basically the Crusaders and the Byzantines just don't get along, especially on the way to the Holy Land, and you can see that one becoming pretty epic in the Fourth Crusade, which I'll eventually get to. Anyways, he goes through the Byzantine lands, and at the end of April, he finally reached the Seljuk territory. So right around here, where they had to lumber through Anatolian hills, and they faced hunger, thirst, and repeated ambushes, just like in every other crusade when you cross through the Seljuk Turk territory. Well, in spite of their weakened state, the Germans took a few cities and continued southwards towards Christian Armenia, which is somewhere around here. Not specifically in the map, it's part of Byzantine controlled territory. Anyways, some of them went like this to here, through Aleppo and reaching Antioch, not through Aleppo, near Aleppo. Aleppo's around here. And then some of them just went through sea, to get somewhere, probably to Acre, which is around right here. But the thing is, on the 10th of June, 1109, Frederick drowned while trying to cross a river into Sicilian Armenia, somewhere around here. And and then this was a big oof, because Frederick had died before even Richard or Philip could come, and this was a terrible blow to the Third Crusade. Many German knights returned home, but a few remnants of Frederick's army continued to Acre. So through the sea route right here. Some of them went to Antioch to stay there, just to wait until further action is taken. This was honestly a big disadvantage for the Third Crusade. I mean, Richard's military skills will handle all that and compensate and all. But the point is that they still lost manpower. And as we've seen with every crusade, manpower seems to be the key issue, or one of the key components and issues in any crusade. So now let's talk about Richard's and Philip's route, or on their way. Well, basically, they're kind of traveling together. They went a few separate ways, and etc. So, it all starts around in England. I think it might be a good idea to mark the route that Richard's fleet had taken. So let's just give you an idea. So this is around here. This is London, but I'm not going to literally start there because that's around there. See, Richard went kind of like this. Just went around through Portugal, where they did some funky things, which is not good, and then through the Strait of Gibraltar, and eventually to Marseille. It's around here. Yeah, this will be the rendezvous point for Richard's navy and Richard himself. So let's mark Richard's journey. Okay. Alright. So it all starts at Versailles, which is around right here. Okay? So, around right here. And so he basically went like that. So on the 4th of July, 1190, Richard and Philip set out from Vercellae at Lyon, and their armies divided, having arranged a rendezvous at Messina in Sicily. Before leaving Vercellae, Richard and Philip agreed to share any profits from the crusade equally, and this simple agreement would become a source of conflict in as the crusade progressed. I'll get into more detail as we go along with this series. Um, so yeah, so his path basically went like this. You see, he went through Lyon and finally met up with his boys in Marseilles. He and they went ahead to go to Pisa, did some touring around, went to Rome. He didn't even visit the Pope even, which is kind of like yeet. This is the guy who caused the whole crusade, and a chance for him to show that he's a man of military prowess and stuff. Anyways, I digress. Going to Naples, right here, and then when we now finally reach Messina. And I think it might as well be a good idea to track how Philip went about it. So, of course, they all went through Lyon, and then Philip decided to take a different alternative route because he didn't have much of a navy to go with, and so he went through Genoa right here, and then he just proceeded to just directly take a nice direct path to Messina right there, which is quite interesting because Richard decided to go and tour around these areas. Philip just wanted to cut to the chase and go to Messina. Anyways, let's talk about what happened in Sicily. So Richard reached in the September 1190, 1 month after Philip. And his Angevin army made an attack on Messina, ignoring the fact that Philip II was already lodged in the city. Richard spent 6 months in Sicily gathering money, resources, and organizing his marriage to Berengaria, the daughter of the King of Navarre. And in return for 100 marks, 10,000 marks, Philip reluctantly absolved Richard of the long-standing obligation to marry his sister Alice, but this created further tension between the two leaders. And I'm going to tell you, all this tension that's going to be built up is going to, make Philip go back to France and potentially take Richard's Angevin holdings. And yeah, of course, don't forget, you can always refer to the Richard, Philip, and Fredrick Barbarossa episodes where I talk about each one of them, like a brief intro to them, and so forth. I'll get into more detail into what happened in each specific place at a later time, but right now I'm just giving you a brief overview of what's going on, like how they got to where they got. So now I shall map the next part of their journey. Remember, yellow is Richard. So yeah, we went from Messina, and then we're going there. He stopped at Crete because some of his fleet got blown over, and then he went to Limassol in Cyprus, then make a quick one to another port, and then went directly for Acre right here. Alright. Philip, on the other hand, also followed a similar route, except he just went directly through. He had no business lingering on any random places, so he just went directly to Acre. Now that I mapped the path, I'll just continue the commentary. So Richard left Sicily on the 30th of March, 1191. 3 days later, a gale scattered his fleet, and the ship containing his sister and his fiancée Berengaria was blown as far as the south coast of Cyprus, which is why he ended up there, where Isaac II, the Greek ruler of Cyprus, tried to capture the princesses. Richard seized the opportunity to invade Cyprus, and he later sold the island to the Templars, but did not share the profits with Philip. Well, again, right away we can see he broke the treaty made in Vercellae. Anyways, no need to worry, because Philip is going to quit the crusade anyway, as I told in episode 1. So yeah, essentially this is all that you guys need to know in regards to how each of the Crusader Kings got to where they got to the Holy Land. Hopefully this gives you an idea how the path was. Of course, in very key moments of this journey, a lot of things happen, which I will cover through once I get through the brief looking into of the parts of the Third Crusade, before I go and make more in-depth analysis on each keystone parts. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and give it a like. Comment down below. Please keep my dead channel alive.